Hello guys, I'm Wildy Ahmad Fayadhi here. I want to tell you how to make strong argument in debate. So, for winning debate or being the best speaker of debate, you should do this tip, several tips from me that are beneficial to you to use it for debate. So, the preparation tips is first, before going to the debate, the first thing person should do first is search factual data in every sources. So, before making the argument, you should search the factual data. For several data, you can find it by Wikipedia, the website that provide the information, or news like BBC. And also, the second is be effective to curing status quo issue. So, you also can read many news that occur today, read recent news or breaking news, so you will be effective for current status quo. So if you are heading by the latest motion or the issue that are occur today, you will know the true argument, you will know the many sides from that argument. And also the third tip is open your point of view. It means that you should not think only by one point of view. You should not be subjective, but you should be objective about that kind of issue. For example, that from the politics side motion or politics side issue, you should not only choose the side of you will be choose, or you should not think by the point of view that the political party that you feel that better, but you should think that outside of the political party itself. And now there are tips that you can do when you building the strong argument when debate. First thing first is you should analyze motion through 5W and 1H. What is 5W and 1H? Those are what, where, who, why, when, and how. So, for example, here is the motion. As Ministry of Education, this house would plan offline learning to prevent learning loss. So, as the pro team or government team, you will find 5W and 1H there is. What is the reason that you agree with that motion? What is learning loss and why we must prevent it? And why must offline learning should be implemented? And what if government still do online learning? It is still more increased learning loss. And how can offline learning solve learning loss? So please note guys, not all 5W and 1H can elaborate it throughout the motion. But it is not necessary that you should complete all 5W and 1H. But the important thing that you know several W and 1H itself. So for the first is what is the reason that you agree with that motion. Now you can analyze that the reason why you agree with this kind of motion. For example, the offline learning can trigger the less probability of learning loss because of the COVID-19 pandemic itself. And what is learning loss and why we must prevent it. Now, you should elaborate what is learning loss itself here. What is the disadvantage of learning loss and how can it trigger throughout the society. So the reason is the learning loss is the disimprovement of student intelligence quality caused by learning gap of bad quality of study. Because of COVID-19 itself, student cannot study offline, and it will trigger learning loss. And why learning loss is important to prevent? Because you can find in Undang-Undang Dasar 1945 Pasal 20 Ayat 1, there is written there that the right of society to get better education. So that can be strong constitution or strong reason to with why we must prevent learning loss itself. And also why must offline learning should be implemented. Now you can choose several reasons there from several point of view. For example, it is hard to control students in online learning. And then there is about inequality of technology and also effectiveness of study. And what is government still do online learning? Is it will more increase learning loss? Nah. Yes, there is increased learning loss because students use phone for playing instead study, and it will trigger ineffective study, and not all teachers are used to teach online properly. And the last is, how can offline learning solve learning loss? Nah, offline learning will conduct more teaching because of teacher will be more creative and innovative rather than online learning. So, however, you can build your own argument. You can add several factual data based on the information that you get into argument. Data will make your opinion become more factual argument. For example, you find three arguments here. For the first argument is, it is hard for online learning to control student itself. So you can bring the factual data, but for example, the news of children that playing game instead of study, so it will trigger the student will not focus on their study, and they will focus on the playing, and it will also trigger learning loss. And the second argument is, you can bring the equality and equity of education, because as we know, in Indonesia, not all education are equivalent, or not all students are equal in the side of education itself. You can bring the data of news of, because of COVID-19, and the government should do the regulation of online learning. Many students cannot follow online learning, especially in isolated zone, or in the village, or in the zone that are have low access in the technology. Many students didn't have gadget, and you can bring the also data of education equity in Indonesia. You can bring the fact that how can Indonesia become unequal in the side of education. And also for the last argument is, it is not effective for learning to conduct the online learning, because of online learning need a good signal, and at least 4G LTE or stable internet needed. You can bring the data of the distribution of 4G LTE connection in Indonesia. Not all area in Indonesia are covered by 4G technology. So that's all from me. Thank you for your attention, and see you next time.